Hey, this is Jimmy DeGrasso. You're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast. Have a good time. Have a good time.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Jimmy DeGrasso
of Y&T,
Black Star Riders,
Suicidal Tendencies,
Dokken,
Alice Cooper, and Megadeth.
Megadeth, yeah.
And we could go on with many more. So let's get to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Jimmy, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Jimmy, this is going to be fun to talk to you tonight.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, so we're now seeing live music back in the forefront.
Thank God.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about your time during the pandemic, and how did you keep yourself busy?
Well, it was really strange. Obviously, for everyone involved. I was teaching drums a bit, but we couldn't do gigs, and it was, and I'm always in the studio, so it was really weird. It was really weird.
Oh, very good.
You were talking about teaching drums. How does that work? Do you have a clinic that you teach, or do you have a website where people can sign up and register? Or how's that work?
Yeah, I have a studio at my house, and I teach a lot. But here again, during the pandemic stuff, it was really weird to do. Not so much for me, but to have people come in, and everyone was so afraid at one point.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing was very, very odd, so.
Well, very good. All right, so we're really going to start diving deep into your retrospective of work. So,
okay.
As we look at your career, a lot of our listeners might not realize that you auditioned and played demos for the Ozzy Osbourne's Ultimate Sin album. Can you talk a little bit more about the audition and those demo tracks for that Ozzy era album?
No, the thing, it was, I was working in LA a lot at the time, and doing a lot of sessions. I was doing a lot of jingles like Taco Bell and blah 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 blah, and a friend of mine told me one night, hey, Ozzy's auditioning drummers. And I'm like, what? At this place down the street. And I was like, huh? Because, what happened to Tommy Aldridge? Because that guy is fucking awesome. And so I remember I didn't know what to do, really, and a couple other people called me about this thing, and I called Ozzy at his hotel room, got him on the phone, and I said, hey, blah, 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 blah. He's like, all right, he's like, all right. And Ozzy goes, come down tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And I showed up, and like 300 other drummers showed up as well. I was like, oh, okay, And it was like a meat grinder. You would go in, and you would go into the room, and like the first song they would play was Over the Mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you couldn't play the intro to that, you got thrown out right away. And drummers would come out every 15 seconds. It was like, that's what it was like.
You as I did my research on you, did you do all of the demo tracks for the Ultimate Sin album, or was it just a handful?
I did about half, and I still have them on tape, and it was like, I have songs, because I used to record all the rehearsals. I have songs that actually wound up on the first Badlands.
Oh, wow.
Record with Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Oh, very good. Jeff, you got the next one?
We'll probably bounce around. Sorry. We'll probably bounce around a little bit, but I'm going to fast forward to the Black Star Riders. I'm a big fan of that band. Can you talk a little about, we've had Ricky Warwick on and Damon Johnson. Can you talk a little bit about how that opportunity came to be, and that first album, All Hell Breaks Loose? That's a killer album.
It was really, it's organic. I mean, it's really incestuous. We were all friends, and with them, I remember I was in Hawaii surfing, and Damon Johnson called me, and he goes, "Hey man, Thin Lizzy is going to do an album, but it's not going to be called Thin Lizzy," and blah 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 blah, and we just went from there, and he goes, "You want to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, now I got to go." That was it. As simple as that. Now, like, yeah, cool. And it was great. It was really cool.
All right, well, let's kind of move forward here. Well, actually, I'm going to move backwards again. So shortly after your Ozzy experience, you joined Y&T, and I love Y&T. I'm a huge Y&T fan. I've always felt that Y&T was a band that didn't get the credit that they deserved from that area.
Totally.
Can you talk a little bit about the your opportunity of joining at Y&T, and how did it all work out, and that whole era for you, that Y&T era, how did it work for you?
Well, it was, it was great. They contacted me after the whole Ozzy thing, and, I went out and I auditioned for them, and they auditioned like 40 or 50 or 60 drummers or something like that. And then, we decided, to play, to get together, or whatever it's called. And no, it's great. I mean, Y&T guys are great. It's unfortunate that, half those guys aren't around now.
Exactly. Y&T's Contagious album was my first love, and it just so happened to be your first album with the band. It was released on Geffen Records. Can you talk a little bit more about the creation of the Contagious album? Armed and Dangerous is my favorite track on that album.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's just talk a little bit more about that first album with Y&T, Contagious. How did it go for you? Can you talk a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. It was a great record. It was really organic. When we recorded it, we did it at Sound City, the place in Van Nuys, and we would record. And the way we recorded was we were in the big room, and Dave would just basically look at me the whole time. I would play, and so would Phil, and so would Joey, and that's how we played. It was a live album. It was really cool. I mean, now albums aren't done that, or CDs. I don't even know what to call them anymore. Recordings, they weren't done like that.
Yes.
We would just look at each other and play. It was like a live thing. We just played together, and they taped it, and that's the way it was. It was great.
Oh, very good.
Those guys were great. It was really fun.
That's so cool. So one of the most interesting projects that I found you to be in was Dave Mustaine's MD45. The band released the Craving album back in 1996. I guess you want to call it a super group of sorts. That featured yourself, Kelly Lemieux, Leaving, and and of course Dave Mustaine. I guess that album kind of flew under the radar for a lot of metalheads and punk rock fans.
Certainly. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about your recruitment into that project? And I guess when it comes to projects, that project really flew under the radar. Can you talk a little bit more and give us the backstory behind that band?
Yeah, no, it was a thing where I knew Dave, and he said, we're going to play together. I'm like, yeah, cool. And then he said, I want you to come down and do this album in Phoenix with, Kelly and Lee. I'm like, cool. I'm good with it. And we went down there. We slammed that out in like a couple days. And we just, the same thing. We just went down there and played. It was really organic, the whole thing. Because I remember I would go mountain biking from 8 in the morning to 11 in the morning, and then go in the studio at 9, or I'm sorry, 12, because I'd take a shower. And anyway, and then, no, we just played those songs. We played them out really fast. Dave had a lot of ideas, and so did Lee. And we just slammed through it. We just went in and played for like a day. Yeah. We did that album really fast. And I think that record turned out really well.
It did. Yeah, and the question I guess that always spurns me is that with that being the band that it was, and the members of that band and who they were, did the label not just? Why did the label not promote that album a little bit more and that band a little bit more?
I don't know. I obviously think it was a bad idea, but I don't know, because it was a really good thing, and I don't know the politics, because there's a lot of them, so I'm not sure.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't know.
All right, so with that being said, your involvement at MD45 led you to join Megadeth right around the 98-99 era. Can you talk about your time in Megadeth and working on the Risk album and the recording process, and how did it work with you and Dave? We've heard all kinds of different stories about working with Dave Mustaine. Can you talk a little bit more about your time in Megadeth? I'm putting you on the hot seat, man.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing. I'm like, sorry. As far as Megadeth, Dave, and I don't mean any disrespect to him, he called me for a couple years before that, and I said, I'm busy, I'm busy. And, with them, he called me and he goes, I want you to join the band like now. I'm like, okay. And I remember it was a Saturday or a Sunday night. I was in Berlin. And I was watching the final Bulls, like playoffs or and be finals. I remember it, because it was 3-4 in the morning because of the time delay, and I said, okay, I'm like, when? He's like, Tuesday. Well, I said, I'm in Berlin, and I said, I need like one day off, Yeah. And so I flew home, and we didn't have a rehearsal or anything. Nothing. And he sent me a set list, and I'm like, okay. And I went back here, and we started on a Wednesday, and we were playing in front of like 6,000 people. I had no rehearsal at all. And we just went up and played.
Oh, very good. Jeff, you got the next one?
All right, I'm gonna try this from a little different angle. So we've been talking about some of the different bands you've been playing in. Talk about joining some of these iconic bands and having to just jump right in and play live. And what kind of undertaking does that take to pick right up and start playing some of their classic songs?
Well, it's like here again, it's really organic. I know all these songs. It's like, I just go in and play, and I get hit with a lot of these things. It's like when David Lee Roth called me, his manager called me and said, how many weeks you need to rehearse? I'm like, weeks? Like, really? I was like, I need a day.
Nice.
Just a day to gel with the band,
Sure.
That's all it is. Because, in the 70s and 80s, I grew up with these songs, as you guys both did.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And, and if you don't know, and most of Dave's set was the first 5 Van Halen albums. I'm like, you don't know these. Like, really?
Yeah.
All right? So it's kind of like that,
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, I have one more question for you, and because we're running short on our allotted time. So, generic question. The internet and social media has taken the mystery out of rock and roll. There's no more mystery in rock and roll anymore. It's taken it away from the pop culture of rock and roll. And it gives us all kinds of accessibility to artists. If we didn't have the internet, I wouldn't have been able to contact you for this interview. But that on the flip side is that we lose the mystery. We lose the mystery of rock and roll. We know Led Zeppelin. We know Black Sabbath now. It's not as far as you as the established artist, drummer of many different bands. What do you prefer? Do you prefer the accessibility that the internet has given us, or do you miss the mystery of rock and roll?
Yeah, I miss that. Yeah, I don't think when you go back, Jimmy Page never had a blog. End of story. That's all I have to say.
True.
You know what I mean? You know what? That was part of the mystique. You didn't know. You had to go and see them to understand them. You know what?
Exactly.
Not everything was out there. I understand it now. It's a different time. I get that. And I'm old now, and I get that. But it's, I like, when we were kids, when you had to go to the store and buy magazines and read about what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That part is sort of gone now.
Yeah, and it is. I guess the thing that has me pulled it in two different directions is running this podcast with Jeff, recruiting the guests like yourself, and it gives us accessibility to do so. But then on the flip side of it, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley are not they're not mystery guys anymore. They're just not, and neither is Robert Plant, neither is Jimmy Page. And we don't have to go buy a Rolling Stone magazine or a Hit Parade or anything like that to
Hit Parade, yeah.
Or and that being said is that I guess it's the either of the two evils, I guess, or whatever. You as the established drummer that has been a part of so many different acts. Do you ever felt like that you were part of something so mysterious, in one of your stops along the way that, hey, this was fun because we had a mystery to us? Has that moment ever happened to you?
I don't know about that.
You're killing me, man.
I don't know about that. I mean, I just think the thing that was really cool when we grew up when we were kids is you didn't know a lot about the people you listened to.
Right.
It had a mystique to it, as you're saying. I think I miss a part of that, but like I said, it's a different time now. I don't know. It's really strange. It's really, really strange.
It is. It truly is.
It's even like a couple of years ago, we were playing what was the gig? Rocklahoma.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I was playing with Rat. And one of my kids is really into Soundgarden, right?
Mm-hmm.
Comical is all. And he goes, hey, he Googled me. So, and he goes, hey, Dad, you're playing at Rocklahoma with Soundgarden. I'm like, I am? I didn't even know it. Like, whatever, I don't know. I just get tour dates. I just go. And he goes, can I go? And I'm like, no. And he goes, why not? And I go, because the whole reason I go on tour is to get away from all of you.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You're a dick."
Of all the places you played along the way, what's one of your favorites?
Favorite?
Yeah, one of your favorite venues.
Everyone asks that, and there really isn't one. You know, it's strange. Everyone asks that. I mean, I just appreciate every place that I played, and people come up and they have fun.
Yeah.
And they show joy, and they're enjoying themselves. So it's not really a place like it's better than the last place, whatever. I'm always surprised when I play that people even show up.
All right, time out.
Seriously.
Well, time out. Jimmy DeGrasso, you're trying to tell me, of all your years of playing with all these different bands, that you don't have a facility that you just look forward to playing to, that you've had so many memorable experiences over the years. You don't have one that sticks out in your head? Not one?
No, I know them all. But I'm just saying, they're all different, but it's always just fun to go out and play and see people enjoying themselves, you know.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, Jimmy, we're out of our allotted time.
Okay.
Is there anything that we did not cover tonight that you would like to discuss real quick before we let you go?
Well, there's but yeah.
We can save it for part 2. How about that?
Yeah, we could do part 2, but yeah.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, but yeah, that's totally fine.
All right.
I'm cool with that.
So we're going to be about 4 weeks out before we release this episode, but Jeff will get this all polished up, and we will have the link sent to you, and we're going to put it on all of our social media platforms. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll be in touch with you in about 4 weeks with the episode. Sound good?
Okay, coolio.
Thanks, man. Take care of yourself.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Be well.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
is their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both their eyes. Hey. Roll the dice. Take your chances.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.